I have stopped playing certain RPGs because there's too much math. No, seriously, I know it's simple math, but it's math nonetheless. A little bit's okay, but when a quarter of your game has to do with you adding up totals, I check out. When you get experienced in a game like Star Wars the role-playing game from West End Games, things can get a bit mathy. Something akin to rolling damage for a fireball when it's at a 9th spell level. Adding up like 7 to 11 d6s in this game takes a lot of time. It's annoying as when someone has to pause the game to, well, do simple math for every single roll. The key here is that it's a problem to me. Your mileage may vary. You can get pretty good at it, and there's hacks for games like Star Wars, but that's a different video. I played D&D 5th edition for about 9 years, that is before the OGL debacle. At one point, I had said to my wife, I think this is one of the best iterations of D&D. That was at one time. And I said, I think I want to buy a few more players' handbooks. And I did. And I still think it's a really solid system for about 1st through 7th level gameplay. It's actually quite sweet there. But some of my players, new and old at the time, were taking forever calculating the result and then in turn calculating damage, especially in combat. It became such a slog and put a stop to the flow that was at the table, and I hated it. Now, I abandoned the game when the OGL debacle happened. You can Google that if you're interested or if you're not in the know about it. I was so pissed at the time, burnt one of my books just to see it burn. Maybe I'm pissed at myself for being duped by them. And we won't even get into the Pinkerton scandal and all the other nonsense like the wokeism that has been thrust upon the later supplements of that game. Long story short, this was my exit from D&D 5e. D&D 2014 was a lot of fun. I have great memories from that system. But the brand turned their back on me, and so therefore I turned my back on the brand. Where was I? Oh yeah, math. Daggerheart is a mess of calculations to arrive at your final total. They are really neat ideas, but will become cumbersome at the table. At least over time. Your first few games may be awesome. I wrote a game, gosh, it's been 25 years, that used a Savage World sort of engine where you had dice values that kind of calculated how good you were at something, and then I added a second die to that to create more of a bell curve, where you would have to add up each die plus a modifier, etc. Something akin to the 2d12 that Daggerheart has. Simpler than Daggerheart overall, but still became a chore. It's not that doing it once is a problem, it's that doing it 50 to 100 times per session, it becomes wearisome, man. Now, I asked ChatGPT to break down the systems of Daggerheart, D&D 5e, Old School Essentials or BX D&D, ShadowDark, and one of my favorite rules-light games, EZD6. Here's a table kind of showing the breakdown. D&D 5e to me is a little bit mathy. Not too bad, but as you know, playing 5e, once you start adding feats and different class abilities, it can get kind of cumbersome over the long haul. But you do get an average success rate of 60%, which is awesome. A good middle ground to where you succeed most of the time. And this is probably why D&D 5e is so popular and remains popular today. Old School Essentials, BX D&D, and ShadowDark is simpler math and to the point. No wonky proficiencies to really deal with. But you get a 20% less chance of success, typically averaging about 40% success rate. These games have a much more deadly feel to them, and more like survival adventuring, which can be a turnoff for some, but are an attractant to other people because that is exactly what they want in a game. Daggerheart is way more mathy than even D&D 5e. And I can also see the hope and fear mechanic in it being very cumbersome over the long haul, rather than having a binary pass or fail mechanic like in traditional D&D. Constantly having to come up with a you passed, but this good thing happened or that bad thing happened. Or you failed, but this good thing happened or that bad thing happened. Which over the course of a 4-hour game can become a bit daunting. There will be loyal followers and players of this game, guaranteed, but it's not something that I really want to try, because there have been many games like it in the past, which I've tried and consequently don't like. I know me. I hope that doesn't come back to bite me someday. Probably will. Then there's EZD6, my personal favorite game mechanics, and has been for quite some time now. Though in the graph here, it does seem a bit more complicated, but that's just having to do with the different target numbers. Because it's so easy, I can put them all here. 80% of the rolls you're going to make, you're going to need a 3 or more on a d6. So your percentage of success is slightly higher than D&D 5e. That is with 1 die. If you're a fighter, you get a boon, also known as advantage to your melee attacks. So you then up the chance of success. Something more akin to Daggerheart's 80% plus success rate. But what's cool about EZD6 that just by upping the difficulty by 1 point, like from a 3 to a 4, significantly augments the percentage of success. You can see that here in the chart. And it's good to see it visually here, so I kind of have more of a grasp when playing the game. When I up that difficulty, what's going to happen? It's really cool to see in this chart here, because as a game master, I know how much I'm dishing out to the players beforehand. So let's rank these systems based upon their mathiness. Daggerheart at the bottom. Then D&D 5e. Next would be ShadowDark, Old School Essentials, and BXD&D. Basically OSR. And my favorite for short-term play would be EZD6. I say short-term because I think EZD6 shines for like convention games, one-shots, or short series of like 8 or less. It's fast, it's exciting, and every roll matters. You don't get bogged down with the math with EZD6. There's no modifiers or overly complex mechanics. The only downside currently is that there's no meaningful progression yet. Though DM Scotty's Brain Candy as well as Wasted World kinda evolves the game forward. It's just not in the core book yet. For longer campaigns that show growth and survival tactics, I would say OSE, ShadowDark, and BXD&D are where it's at. They keep the math simple, the combat deadly, and the storytelling fluid. At the end of the day, this is my advice. If you want fast, meaningful, and fun adventures where the dice and the story drive the game, the OSR and EZD6 are where it's at. And get back to what matters: adventure, danger, and imagination. What would you choose? Leave it in the comments. And don't forget to tell me why I'm right or obviously wrong, right? If you'd like to help me make more content like this, consider becoming a Patreon member. You'll get access to original maps and my products and all the behind the scenes stuff that not everybody gets to see. As well, the red hen tier or above gets an Agronac cult patch. All right, everyone. Thanks for stopping by Agronac Studios today, and we'll see you on the next one. Later.